this thing on?
We talking about practice, man.
I work with my hands. It's a misdemeanor in 27 states.
You gotta be comfortable with your co-host in this amount of space.
Yeah, I can see me and you.
This guy runs a state.
You get that through your head?
You just got hashtag content.
You know, technology and stuff.
Open your grill. It's stuck in your teeth.
Now I have to mark them so I don't get the lick mite.
You're not really that stupid, are you?
Quavos.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
We'd have a lot of editing this time.
The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen.
Trust the process, the offense, and the clock management. Maybe the only thing you can trust with the Buffalo Bills is their ability to fall short.
Right off the plane from one Queen City to the other, Andy Young of Spectrum News is joining us to talk Bills and Panthers.
Bird is the word. Don't you know? Unless we're talking boxing, then Bird. Well, Bird be crazy.
Is Drake going to write another diss track because Kevin Durant is out here ghostwriting?
TBD. Better late than never, to be determined, episode 29, previously recorded from the studio in Mom's basement. Yeah. Stephen Bond, at Sports by Bond with you, with Matt Traybold.
Hi.
At Trabs Matt. At Scooty Minx.
Hey, how you doing?
I did that completely backwards this time.
Hey, guy.
That's not that's not how I normally do it. It's not good. It's not. It's a
I
good
like
start.
our friends. I like our friends.
It's a good start. Big show for you on episode 29. Looking at the numbers ahead of time, we've been doing this thing recently where we figure out famous
Last two episodes.
Since we're on episode 29, we figured out famous athletes that wore 29. Rod Carew jumping off the page.
Wait, do you mean Hall of Famer Rod Carew?
That's exactly what I meant. Eric Dickerson,
Rex
John
Specs?
Smoltz,
Rex Specs
And-
Pony Express.
Hockey Hall of Famer Ken Dryden.
Don't know who that is.
But I'm gonna do one further
him.
for you. Your boy Larry Legend. Kings
Really?
head coach Steve Malero wore 29 in college.
Nice.
So a famous 29. Little shout out there for the GM of our fantasy football team, which I'm gonna stop the music hard there. We didn't have a good weekend, if I'm honest.
And after a good first week, hey, you know what? 1-1. It's not under 500.
We're exactly 500.
I mean,
It's just not good.
Yes.
That's how numbers work.
I mean, Young Wei Koo has broken me. He's my kicker in at least 3 leagues. He's the namesake of my team, Koo and the Gang, in 3 leagues. And by that rule, he has to at least for a little bit longer.
Your boy almost is talking. There's talk of clipping him.
Yeah, I don't think Josh Lambo, who we beat out in camp for this job with the Los Angeles Chargers, I don't think he's been re-signed. He's probably just biding his time. Loving a 1 for 3. Oh, no, he's 1 for 4 right now through 2 games.
Not good.
In his career.
That's no bueno.
Okay, he's looking up Ken Dryden here, trying to enlighten the young lad.
I was Googling Ken Dryden for you so you could see him. And
I saw him.
Okay. All right.
I've experienced.
The old Habs goalie.
Canadians, guys.
Yeah, Canadians. Sorry. Canadians.
There's no tilde. It's Canadians.
Big show planned for you. As
Hefty show.
Trabs Matt mentioned in the open, not only are we talking Bills, but we're going to talk Bills with one Andy Young of Spectrum News, who is down in Charlotte.
Charlotte, a town. I guess it's a town in the Rochester area.
Yeah, town, city. It's part of the city?
Yeah, so I don't even think it's really a town. It's
a
part
region?
of the city.
Whatever it is. He was at the game, if you want to call it that, in Charlotte, between the Panthers, as you mentioned, and the Bills. It was ugly. Very ugly. Triple G Canelo fight over the past weekend on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting stuff there. Our good friend Frank Mucci going to join us. Although, as we will learn, he's not thrilled about the nickname Syracuse Sanach. Just a gentleman about town.
We were talking to him a little bit before, just to kind of produce with him. Maybe not produce as much as the last time we had him on, but just kind of make him aware about what we're going to talk about today.
Exactly.
And Syracuse Sanach or Syracuse Sinatra, either option, not a fan.
Didn't like it. So the gentleman about town will join us to discuss what to wear out to a bar if you want to do something more than just T-shirt and jeans, that type of stuff. And that conversation spreads.
I don't like jeans.
like
so.
wildfire.
So whatever gets away from jeans. 'Cause
Right.
Team no jeans.
All right, fair enough. But we begin with the big story of the weekend, obviously. Bills falling to the Panthers in what I guess is classified as a football game. There was football out there. They played it on a gridiron, but my goodness, was that ugly.
No touchdowns.
Yeah, you're
No
right. 4 field goals was just...
Touchdowns.
Good day if you're a fan of place kickers, but if you're not, then this was not your game.
Yeah, if you had Graham Gano in fantasy.
If
Graham, yes.
if you like defense,
Yeah.
as I noted, the barn was burned.
Yeah. Definitely got some
Golly.
puntos off of that.
Ugly. The offense for the Bills, I still don't believe they've even showed up to Charlotte. Why bother getting off the plane? I'm not even sure the plane landed there. It was just ugly. The offense just didn't show up. The entire offense, as we've noted, is LaShawn McCoy, and he was held to a handful of yards. Did okay thing. I think he had 6 receptions, 30-something yards, but he didn't even look like he got forward progress. I mean, I think he was ended the first half with 0 yards rushing. I mean, that can't happen.
And this is a guy that obviously is to get you plenty of quantity over his career, not just with the Bills, but also with the Eagles. But usually he also throws in some quality in terms of, in big situations, stepping up to the plate, having that clutch gene. But, I mean, you had deep in Bills territory one time. I think they're in their own end zone, and he couldn't get a gain on a screen pass. This is somebody in open field, especially against a linebacker. You think he's going to be able to scoot around him pretty well. On a 4th and 1, got dropped for like 3 yards.
He typically wins those in the open space with
Open
linebackers.
space.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
But last week, you had guys step up, not out of the blue, but you had someone who's not been 100% health-wise in Charles Clay for a very long time.
Yeah.
He was able to at least, there early against the Jets, have kind of a breakout. Jordan Matthews had a couple big plays, and he had a couple big plays in this one. He's always going to be good for a couple big plays, it seems like. But it's just, with this offense, can he get to that extra level of bringing it on the stat sheet and in situations like he did in Philadelphia?
Defense looked really, really good. I
Otherworldly.
hesitate to say great, but maybe it was great. Maybe that was great defense we saw. Held them to no touchdowns. But Cam also has a tendency. We still don't know if Cam Newton is, quote, back. I hate to even say that, but is he significantly better than he was last year? I'm not sure he was. I'm not sure Cam is what he was 2 years ago, because every pass Cam threw seemingly was 10 feet in the air, minimum.
Or is he a truly good NFL quarterback? Because obviously he had the MVP season, but in terms of longevity, it looks like it's going to be a rough year, at least after 2 games. It was rough last season in its entirety. That question comes about.
How much of it is carried over from last year? I get what you're saying.
Was that a fluke season?
Yeah, was it? We still don't know. I think it's just too early to tell. Either way, there are some pieces there offensively that are nice. Their wide receivers are pretty decent. Funchess and
Funchess.
Yeah, and Benjamin, obviously, big guys, and they have to be because Cam throws the ball, just rifles it.
You got to have some
12
hype.
feet in the air, for God's sake.
You have some hype on you.
Insane. But the defense held up. 6 times they got to Cam Newton. He was under all sorts of pressure. The DBs look better than I think anyone expected. I think that was an area of concern, especially when they got rid of Darby, when they traded him away. All of us in the media sort of looked like, whoa, what is this? And now I think this game sort of shows you that these guys can play.
And a lot of people thought right off the bat that Trey White, as a DB in this fairly new secondary, very new secondary, I should say, was going to be good. Right off the bat, showed those kind of tools. And he was pretty good in this game. I mean, for the second straight game, he is getting in there and slapping balls away.
2 solid games.
Granted, he wasn't maybe as consistent throughout the performance as he was in week 1 because, I mean, Kelvin Benjamin. So it's funny. So Devin Funchess at Michigan was a tight end. And now he's really playing wide receiver. And Kelvin Benjamin started off as a wide receiver, and now he has the girth of a tight end.
He's got the body of a tight end, no
so
doubt
kind
about
of
it.
Swapping, but because of that, they're both massive, massive human beings. But the safeties, the new guys who weren't huge, huge pieces on their former teams in the NFL, these are the guys where it's really, really surprising.
Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, both have played, I think, better than anyone expected.
So well-rounded in terms of sacks, in terms of big tackles, passes deflected, interception you saw in week 1 against Josh McCown. Jordan Poyer, he's got to be up with the top 15 defensive players so far through 2 weeks.
And that's
overall.
amazing. And that's a guy that we didn't expect. I mean, I remember
Not
when
at
they
all.
signed him, Everyone's like, he's coming from the Browns.
Micah Hyde, of those two, was the bigger name.
Absolutely. I think much more is expected of Micah Hyde than Jordan Poyer, but really Poyer's outplayed Hyde to this point. But they've been a good combination. I mean, this is an all-new secondary. Don't forget that. This is 4 completely new players.
Across the board.
From one year to the next for the Buffalo Bills. A guy that has continued to be with the Bills, and I wonder just how much longer it's going to be, is Darcel Marius, because this guy cannot... He's yet to show up. He registered 1 tackle, and I get that his impact was bigger than just the 1 tackle, but he is lacking motivation, and I don't know why. I mean, he's getting paid plenty of dough. He has the talent. We've seen it in the past. The motivation is there to want to be great and to be great for the guy that's, I think he views as almost like an older brother in Kyle Williams.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's not there for them. What do you do with Marcel Darius? How do you get him started?
And we've said in the show a couple times before, even if this was still Rex Ryan's Bills, I think he'd be in a massive doghouse. I'm not sure that's the doghouse aspect, the entire reason why he's not playing a very big percentage of the snaps defensively, but this is a staff, especially Sean McDermott, with the discipline and the trickle down from him who shows it so much to his players and how much more he expects out of them because of that. You would think that this would be something that really, I mean, you've mentioned before maybe moving him if you can get enough back, because obviously there's a lot of money invested in him. But I don't know, even though he's making so much, how much string he has on this team because of the mentality of a Sean McDermott.
Just trying to look up quickly what Darius is making. I can't remember off the top of my head. Good internet connection tonight in Mom's basement. All right, so 2017, he is due to make $9.75 million, signing bonus of $5 million, workout bonus of $250,000. In total, his cap hit is $16.4 million, and it's only going to go up. It's going to rise until 2019.
Really backloaded. Ooh,
pardon me.
Got your money's worth on that one. Usually it's me that's showing the phlegm on here.
Just got a little something that's creeping in the back of the throat here. I need a water.
Roger Flemings.
His cap hit's just going to continue to rise, and the dead cap this year and next would just devastate this team. 38.6 in dead cap, 22 next year. After 2019, you can probably make a play and get rid of him. But then you're dumping the number 3 overall pick for nothing. And someone's going to obviously give him another shot. There's no doubt about it. Someone will sign him to a massive contract and think, well, we can motivate him with an incentive-based contract. I think there's a move out there, and we'll talk to Andy Young about this that I brought up during that interview. I think you make a play for Aaron Donald. I really do. You've shown that these two front offices between the Rams and the Bills can obviously do some work because they had that blockbuster trade for Sammy Watkins. I don't know what kind of cap room the Rams have. This is a big assumption on my part because I didn't look it up. I think that this is the reason why I think that works. Obviously, the same position. Obviously, it's two very skilled guys. When Darius wants to be, I think he can be the most disruptive defensive tackle in the game. I think you can say the same for Aaron Donald. It appears to me that Marcel's not very happy here in Buffalo right now. I don't know why that is, but he just doesn't seem to be very motivated to play or to want to make a play or to really get healthy or do things the right way. He's been injured. He's been in trouble. And as we've mentioned, he just really hasn't shown up. He hasn't really shown the motivation for it. Aaron Donald clearly was not happy with his contract situation.
Yeah.
He didn't even show up week 1. If I'm not mistaken, week 2 was his first game for the LA Rams.
Oh, yeah, no, he definitely sat out week 1.
He sat out all of preseason and then week 1. So this is a guy that's not making a ton of money that's willing to go through all those fines just to try to get a bigger contract. It seems to me you've got two very skilled guys playing the same position and two teams that are willing to work with one another. Not only does it alleviate some cap room for the Bills, but you bring in a guy that could be motivated. And if you're the Rams, you've all of a sudden got a guy that's been traded again, few familiar pieces in the guys that are out in
that'd be ironic.
LA Bills, so to speak, and a guy that should be turned around and now all of a sudden aggravated and ticked off at his former team. To me, it seems like a fit, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me in a dream world that doesn't actually exist.
I think to make sense, the money would absolutely 100% have to work out. It would have to be at least even.
The
if
Bills
not
would have to
favoring the
retain
Bills.
some of that of his salary. Is what you're
So I
saying?
think within the last couple years, Pro Football Focus rated Aaron Donald the best player in the NFL. I'm pretty sure it was something that lofty. If not, maybe
That's crazy.
Definitely close to it. I mean, and yes, Marcel Darius is very, very good.
Yeah.
He's elite, but that thing another level, like a Khalil Mack being an
Right.
all-pro at 2 positions for the first time ever in NFL history. He's that kind of level.
I
That
gotcha.
kind of maybe top 5 throughout the NFL.
So the Bills would have to put something along with it. Maybe give him their second-round pick back.
Yeah. It'd just be so ironic. Like, obviously, it makes sense to a certain degree because they've worked with that front office
It's
a
a
lot
pipe dream. I
recently.
get that, yeah.
A lot recently. So, like, well, obviously, there's some kind of, well, I'm not sure if rapport is the right word, but they know how to work with each other.
Yeah.
But also because of all those quote-unquote reps they've had with these moves back and forth with the Rams, whether or not they would just keep going along those lines.
Are you concerned about Shady's wrist at all?
Well, part of it, so Jadeveon Clowney, talking about ball security here. So he has the fumble recovery recently and had a pretty good return on Andy Dalton last night. Not last night, but on Thursday night. Run it back. There's no ball security.
Yeah.
There are a couple plays where LaShawn didn't have any ball security.
He carries that thing like a loaf of bread from time to time.
Yeah, so but it's whether or not because he did it for a few
I
times
think
in the
he's-
same game, because some of that is showmanship sometimes, but he was doing it like in big situations where there's a lot of people crowding around him. It makes me think that maybe it's worse than he's saying. And I mean, obviously, he's the kind of personality, and there's some positive aspects to it where in any kind of media availability he is saying that it's not a problem.
And they never do. Athletes typically never address that stuff, it's just sort of par for the course. You barely get anything out of it.
Yeah, coach speak, player speak.
Exactly, that type of stuff. Long term, I think he'll be okay. It doesn't seem to be anything that is hampering him or keeping him from the game. Maybe a couple of plays here and there, maybe a couple of snaps. And that's okay because, listen, this guy's playing a ton of snaps for this team.
I think Tolbert can.
So-
I mean, Tolbert did not get the kind of maybe production, obviously, but I'm not sure from a carries perspective what it was. He's not getting the kind of work he did maybe week 1. I think you keep trying to give him more and more.
A little more balance.
Help it out for the health
gotcha.
of LaShawn McCoy.
Clock management, the other big issue of this game. Green head coach is kind of what I had here. It's just a head coach that, ironically enough, learned under Andy Reid, who is infamous for his
The
horrific clock management
punt, pass,
skills.
and kick competition.
Right, that too.
Where what did was
That
he?
too.
So he was what 26 going up against young kids.
I get that it's his second game. Yeah, exactly. I get that it's McDermott's second game. Is there reason to be concerned here, knowing the lineage, so to speak, and seeing for your own eyes what happened on Sunday?
I mean, you always talk about, not just in this sport, but in a lot of other professional sports, the coaching tree and how important the concept of that is.
Yeah.
He is not writing that down when he's under the tutelage of Andy Reid as something to take away from. I don't think that is something that's getting
You
passed
gotta
from one to
learn
the other.
from that, though. I mean, it's pretty famous. This is one of the worst clock managers in the history of the game.
I think it's just because he's green. I
All
don't
right.
think it's because of an
All
Andy
right,
Reid
so
deal.
we won't be concerned about it. All right, so the Bills drop to 1-1. They lose 9-3. We'll talk to Andy Young of Spectrum News a little bit more and go a little bit broad. We'll obviously preview their next game as they host Denver. To Triple G, Canelo, Triple G, whatever the heck it was. Canelo Golovkin, Alvarez Golovkin, however they had it built,
Yeah.
one way or another.
It's very important with Maymack. It
I
was.
know,
I don't
I
know
know.
who was before the
Who
ampersand, before the
cares?
verses.
Who
the
cares?
VS point.
Good God.
The VS point.
It's the biggest middleweight fight we've had in some time. It's the biggest fight in boxing in 5, 6, 7 years. Fair to say?
Oh, absolutely.
Pacquiao Mayweather, obviously a big fight, but no one
But
expected it to be good. So,
past prime.
this was the fight we were looking for. Triple G not past his prime. Canelo obviously just entering, I think, his prime, even though he's got like 50 professional fights, something like that. As I noted here, and I watched every round but the first. I was on my way back from Rochester working the Courage Bowl, actually, out in your neck of the woods.
Now, disclaimer, I was the exact opposite where I got home from work. Courage Bowl was also on my slate of things to cover Saturday.
I saw you there.
Hi. It was me getting home in the 11th. So I really followed. It was a great stream with some ESPN guys, Dan Raphael, who I love,
Yeah.
as the boxing expert
Always
from
does good
ESPN, and
stuff.
Arash Markazi, who was in on the fun as well. So I was really able to keep up with it still.
Canelo landed more power shots. but seemed very disinterested in the fight.
That was the
from start to finish.
Big takeaway from this stream.
The only rounds that I think he was interested in, again, I missed the first one, but it seemed to me like the 11th and 12th were the only ones, because it seemed like he knew, all right, I got to do something here.
Yeah.
I got to do something.
And that means just shows that you weren't giving it your all earlier on when you have that push at the end.
Exactly. Triple G's power wasn't on display. I mean, this guy's a knockout artist. Kind of like, what is it? Kelly the Ghost Pavlik was a few years ago.
I love him because you look at him like, this guy is an awesome boxer.
Yeah, he just understands boxing and
like
angles
drummer or
and
something.
How to use his power the right way, because he doesn't look like a big, strong guy.
No.
Canelo's a big, strong
Literally.
guy. Triple G's a strong guy, but he's not the physical athlete, I don't think, that Canelo is.
Yeah, he is. He tanked up for this fight, but he definitely doesn't have the length of a Triple G or certainly a Kelly Pavlik.
His most effective punch was the jab, and to me, it seemed to be death by jab, and that's how I thought this fight was going to go. I really thought this was going to be and I was okay if it was even a split decision. I was fine if it wasn't unanimous. A split decision, because I could see where one person would think, Canelo's got more power shots landed than Triple G. The fact that it was a draw was remarkable to me. This should have been death by better boxing. Just it was because Canelo was disinterested, because Triple G was constantly the aggressor.
He's awarded for being disinterested.
Yeah, this decision didn't make any sense to me. And furthermore, everyone's noted that Adeline Bird scored the fight 118 to 110. I don't know what fight she was watching on replay of Canelo's, but it obviously wasn't the Canelo Triple G fight. This was another Canelo fight she was watching. It made no sense to anyone. And this is yet again another example of boxing dropping the ball in a major way.
And that's the thing, and especially because I think Maymac was a pretty positive event for them. And this comes just a few weeks later, and it really could have been such a good outlet for them getting back into the limelight of the professional sporting world, not just here, but all over the country. But it's funny. So Chris Mannix, I don't know where he is now, but he used to be of Sports Illustrated, fills in for Dan Patrick a bunch. He, I think midweek last week, said, watch the scorecard of Adelaide Bird. She does this all the time. And Chris Mannix, hats off to you.
Seriously, good catch there. Listen, this comes on a night where USC and Texas played a phenomenal college football game. Captivated a lot of attention. And I watched it after I returned from watching. Man, everything falling apart on the set today. There it goes. Just knock everything down. We might as well. We'll start fresh. We'll knock it down.
Burn it all.
Don't burn it all. I know. I watched the end of that college football game. I didn't see the entire thing because I was watching Triple G Canelo. Yeah. This is an example of boxing dropping the ball. You had the attention. You had all the momentum coming off of Mayweather-McGregor, meaning there was interest in fighting again. And you capitalized first. You got out ahead of MMA by having the bigger headline fight. And then you dropped the ball. This is plain and simple dropping the ball. If you're the Nevada Gaming Commission, if you're the sport of boxing in general, you have to understand that the eyeballs are going to be on you this one time. And you have an opportunity to catch people's attention with a phenomenal fight, with two good opponents, with two non-American opponents. That's hard to do. And you've simply fumbled it. Do I want to see a second fight? Absolutely. Does most of America care about a second fight? No.
Well, especially because the same thing with Mayweather-Pacquiao. They're angry now. You have angered the masses. And I don't know how much the masses were to begin with.
At what point? Yeah, it's not much of a mass.
Because it's boxing.
At what point is it the last straw? This might be it.
And it would have been good for a knockout. And there's only been a couple times in Triple G's career where it's been taken to decision. And you had, I think, in the middleweight division, no one has a higher knockout percentage than him. And I think right now, over all weight classes, it's Anthony Joshua, who we talked about in the show before, and Deontay Wilder. So this is the guy who usually stops fights. Yeah. I wonder why, because something Dan Raphael was saying as well, I'm not sure if it was disinterested or he just didn't have the stamina of Triple G when they would really go back and forth and there's some big shots and power shots happening. I guess Triple G was moving through them, just kind of taking it in stride, and you just had a backing off approach when that would happen by Saul.
There should be no question that Triple G has a phenomenal chin. He was on the receiving end of all the power shots, most of the power shots in that fight. Canelo seemed disinterested, and Canelo, really, for the most part, you're going to be a counterpuncher like Canelo is. You got to pick your spots. Again, everything's falling. I'm telling you, this is just great audio. You got to pick your spots. Exactly. And it's hard to when a guy's just jabbing you upstairs. Triple G didn't go downstairs more than a handful of times the entire fight, and that's what Canelo's looking for. Canelo wants to counter with that uppercut. He never really got the chance to, but still, you got to make things happen in that ring, and he did not. Butt music in. Lengthy A block.
Meaty.
Done. A very meaty A block. Done. We head to the B block where we welcome in recurring thoughts now. Andy Young, Spectrum News. We're going to hit more stuff off the set. We're going to really just clear the set and start anew, so if you check the video version whenever we get around to editing those, we may have a whole new set by the time this block is done. Andy Young of Spectrum News, good friend of the show, up next on TBD.
We're in fall, baby. Look at the leaves. B block means a 3-man weave.
Look at this.
Yes.
My goodness.
That means interview time, baby.
I wasn't ready for that one. I was on the edge of my seat.
It wasn't
Literally.
that good. Thank you.
Thank
you for pipping it up.
I liked it. We are excited to join in a recurring thoughts now, and quickly a recurring thoughts, might I add. This might be the quickest recurring guest we've had in a while. One Andy Young of I don't want to screw this up. I almost said Time Warner of Spectrum News.
There it is.
It's
I don't even
changed
know what
too
it's
many
called
times.
anymore.
And you've been there quite some time now, right? If I'm not mistaken.
We've had 3 name changes in my 6 years, so every other year.
You guys really, they change it up a lot.
That means a lot of apparel and new jackets, though, right?
That's true.
Tons of swag, boys. Tons of swag.
I'm jealous because I won't name the former station I worked for. You can look it up, but I didn't get anything. They gave us like a jacket, and they demanded I give it back to them at the very end.
What?
I've got all kinds of stuff that says YNN, Time Warner Cable, now Spectrum. I don't wear it anywhere, but it's filling my closet.
There you go.
Very nice.
I know, it's be weird to break that out again, right?
Retro?
Yeah.
Nostalgia?
I get it. All right, Andy was actually down in, I'm always going to say Charlotte, but it's Charlotte.
I almost said the same
gonna say, it's a Rochester
Charlotte.
thing.
Yeah.
Rochester roots.
Yeah,
Yes.
Andy knows. Andy had to call highlights for Charlotte at one point
Yeah.
Sure thing.
during the sports days.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Charlotte.
There we go. Is that called the Queen City? Do they call that one the
is.
Queen City too?
Yeah, there's 2 Queen cities, Buffalo and Charlotte.
Look at that. Look at the connection there. I hesitate to say that Andy saw a football game, but that is what was kind of played for 60 minutes.
Well, people paid to watch a football game. I don't know how much they saw of that, but it was kind of an ugly game from many perspectives, especially for that Bills offense. Man, was that brutal.
Let's talk about the offense. Did they miss the plane? Did they end up in Charlotte, Michigan? Where was the offense for this game?
I think they ended up in Charlotte. Go to the right place. I don't want to make excuses for the Bills offense because that was not a good performance, but I will say this before we get into ripping them apart, that Carolina's defense is one of the best in the NFL. Their front 7 is magnificent. You look at that linebacker core, those defensive linemen, those guys are tough to handle. Those are some big boys, some fast runners. Luke Kuechly is probably the best linebacker in the NFL. Thomas Davis is not far behind him. Given that, though, the Bills didn't do anything to help themselves out in that game. You got to manage more than 9 yards rushing for LaShawn McCoy when he's your best player. He's literally your best player on offense. Your best weapon was over 100 yards last week against a bad Jets team that does have some decent pieces still up front. But this week to only have 12 carries and 9 yards, Tyrod 125 yards to the air, that's just not going to cut it no matter if you're facing the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens or one of these great defenses. You got to do better than that.
Yeah.
Other side of the ball now, defensively, I don't know if we've seen a performance this good since Jim Schwartz was the DC. Is this group better than we thought?
Yeah, I think people are surprised a little bit by what they've been able to do. I like the back end that they put together with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Those guys were kind of question marks because we didn't know a lot about them, especially Poyer.
Yeah.
But my goodness, Poyer's been one of the best safeties in the NFL. He's had a couple sacks, some big hits to break up passes, broke up a couple touchdowns against the Panthers. He's got a pick, so he's doing a fantastic job. And I think the way Rex had kind of confused things with his hybrid scheme and the confusion with Rob and Rex and who was running things and too many cooks in the kitchen, I think McDermott came in, simplified things. Look, McDermott had 4 out of 6 years top 10 defenses in Carolina, so the guy clearly knows what he's doing, and he's done it more recently than Rex has as far as having a good defense. So if he could get some of those pieces playing the right way, mix in some of the new guys, they do pretty well, and I think they've done so far and perhaps really even exceeded those expectations of getting that turned around.
Defense looks great. McDermott obviously understands that side of the ball. The clock management, he does not. And I get that this is a first-year head coach, but why is this so complicated? Why is this what is seemingly so simple? Why is it so complicated?
Hardly any NFL coaches seem to have it figured out. College coaches definitely don't. And I don't really know why.
Is it
I don't
ironic?
know why they don't pay somebody to just do the clock management.
Yeah.
He tells the coach, he sits there all day, he's got analytics and stats in front of him. He says, when we have this many timeouts, this situation in a game, here's what we do. No matter what the play is, what the call is, what happens, because they should have that all pretty well mapped out ahead of time. Now, listening to McDermott, the timeout before the 2-minute warning, where 30 seconds elapsed, and then they called a timeout while they were on defense. Mm-hmm. I don't think the intent there was to call a timeout. They called that because they didn't like the defense they were in. Okay. And it ended up working out that they stopped them, forced the field goal, which gave them a chance. I think they were concerned there they were going to give up a touchdown. I don't think that was necessarily to stop the clock. Now, the one with like 43 seconds left where they kind of let it wind down after Tyrod scrambled, you can make a case certainly that they probably should have used a timeout. His explanation from what I was seeing today when the media asked him about it again was that he wanted to save that timeout if they got closer down towards the end zone, which had Zay Jones caught the ball, they would have been and needed that timeout with 10, 15 seconds left. So I'll give him a little bit of a pass, but I could see calling that timeout after that Tyrod scramble and the clock, wasted another 30 seconds.
Is the irony, and I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Andy, but it occurred to me, is the irony not lost on anyone that he is a disciple of Andy Reid?
And what does he get crushed most for?
Yeah, it's
clock management.
It literally dawned on me in that moment when you were talking, so I apologize, but it's so funny to me that there it is. I don't know.
So the offensive line looked really good week 1. Sunday, not so much. What did you see out of that unit?
Yeah, it's really concerning, I think, Cordy Glenn's injury, because I think Deion Dawkins right now is a step back. And even when Cordy Glenn is in there, he's not himself. I mean, Glenn was never an all-pro, but he's a pretty darn good franchise-quality left tackle. They franchised him a couple of years ago for that reason. Mm-hmm. Stable, solid, you count on Glenn. But the ankle injury the last couple of years going into the preseason this year it's obviously hampered him, and he's just not quite as effective. The ground game, that's going to go back to the excuse where the Panthers front seven is really, really tough. But if you claim to be the best rushing attack in the league, you should be able to at least get 50 yards. You can't even, that was pathetic. I mean, 66 yards, and most of that was on Tyrod Taylor scrambles. So, I mean, the offensive line's a bit of a concern. I don't think they're nearly as strong normally in pass blocking as they are in run blocking. I think their downhill strength is getting out and crushing guys, and, backing up on their heels isn't necessarily their strength. So if they're not running the ball, it's going to be big trouble for that Bills offense because they don't have the outside weapons to do a lot of damage through the air at this point.
It's a good point. Here's the weekly, and I hesitate to do this, but it seems like we have to talk about this, Marcel Darius question. The guy was absent week 1, played, I don't know, was it fewer than 20 snaps I thought I saw this week? He obviously is not... He had a couple of plays. I think he only registered actually 1 tackle in the game. He was responsible for a few others, though, where he was disruptive. What do the Bills do with their multi-million-dollar baby?
That's a great question. He spent a little bit of time on the sidelines. They were messing around with his ankle on the bench for junctures of that game. He's been injured basically the last 3 years, either injured or suspended, and hasn't done much beyond that. And that's the big problem. His contract is so prohibitive. Who's going to take that salary in a trade? And if they dump him, the dead cap money is just absolutely ridiculous. It's like $14, $15 million. I mean, you can't take a dead cap hit to have a guy not on your team and pay that guy to not play. So you hope you can get something out of him. I mean, he's an absolute beast. We saw it a few years ago. I mean, that guy is one of the best defensive tackles in the league when he's healthy and when his head's on straight and when he's not smoking weed or whatever he's doing. So, when he's out there playing, he's great, but that's the problem. I don't know how you get him back to that level because clearly, whether it's health, mentally, physically, he's just not there right now.
It seems like the motivation, it just is not there for this guy. And maybe it is, like, is your point. He's just mentally, physically not all there. The Bills have been clear about, we're going to move guys that don't buy into this system at all or don't buy into this culture. He seems like he's one of those guys. Now, there's another great defensive tackle all the way across the country in Aaron Donald who just reported for week 2. Is there, maybe I'm just reaching here, you think there's any possibility the Bills are experimenting with maybe a 1-for-1 swap there?
I mean, you could give it a shot. I think both guys are fantastic. Donald is an absolute monster, and he's an underrated guy as good as he is. I think he's the best defensive tackle in the league, but you don't hear as much about him as some of the other guys that you consistently hear about, maybe that's something they'd consider. They've made deals with that team before, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, obviously, we haven't heard any rumors along those lines, but, maybe that would something, fresh scenery for both guys might help. I don't know.
Maybe.
So LeSean's performance on Sunday makes people wonder how bad this wrist injury is. Do you think that injury could be worse than he is making it out to be when he talks in press conferences or just in general? And do you think his performance will continue to be maybe below expectations?
I don't think a wrist injury would hamper a guy like Shady that much, just because if he wraps it tight and he takes some painkillers or whatever, if he can hold on to the ball, he's fine. He's, that guy's so quick. He uses his legs. He doesn't take a lot of big hits. So I think, the wrist injury, I don't know how much of a factor that plays into it, but I don't know. I mean, he hasn't let on that it's really hurting him too badly. It took him out of the game for a little bit against the Jets, and then we saw him go back in there, and everyone's going, why do you have him back in there at that? It's just one of those deals where they throw him back in, and he said he was fine, then it went a little numb, and then he needed to ice it. I don't know. I mean, it could be a factor, but I think a guy like him, if it would be more concerning if it was an ankle, a knee. He had the hamstring a couple of years ago that kind of limited him throughout the season. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too concerned with Shady long term, but you got to get through these tough defenses that they have here right now, and that's kind of the bigger issue to me.
Well, let's talk about one of those tough defenses in Denver next week. Bill's going to host do I hesitate to use the word red hot, that phrase, but it seems that way at this point. I mean, this Denver team looks better than advertised, and we all know how good that defense is. Do the Bills have a prayer against Denver? Could they possibly be looking past the Buffalo at any stretch of the imagination? I know they've got a big one 2 weeks from this Sunday. I think we're 1 week past the Bills. I forgot who they play, but it is a big game. Good producing on my part. Is there any chance that this team is overlooking the Bills, or is this just going to be as ugly as it was on Sunday?
I don't know, man. Like, that defense is so good and so rugged. I think they're right there with Carolina. The Bills, obviously, one of the top two defenses right now, too. But I think the problem with Denver is, okay, that defense is so good, and you knew that, but you thought, Trevor Siemian's going to struggle a little bit. If they're a complete team and they're running the ball with C.J. Anderson and Simeon's slinging the ball all over the place, I mean, the way they shut down Dallas, that was really unexpected. So that was a game kind of at the beginning of the season you thought was kind of a toss-up, 50-50 kind of game. The Bills could win, but the way it looks right now, I don't think so. I think that Denver's a 2 or 3 point favorite in that game right now. So I would expect Denver to win, but, the Bills could certainly turn around and have a chance, but they've got to get that ground game going and figure out a way to get the ball to the receivers a little bit and have some separation and have something downfield that keeps defenses more honest, because if that Denver defense doesn't think Tyrod can pass the ball at all, they're just going to tee off on Shady and bring 8 in the box every single play.
It's Oakland. That's who it was. I knew it was a big team.
That is a big team.
That's why.
You're correct.
I had to look it up because it was bothering me that I couldn't remember that, because I saw it literally earlier this morning. So bad producing on my part.
But you made up for it.
Listen, something like that.
Hey, use your time wisely.
We got it in there quick. Matt, you got anything else for him?
I think you're good.
That's Andy Young of Spectrum News. We appreciate the time. Where can we find your stuff, brother? We gotta try to plug you away to the 4 people that don't know you on the show.
Oh, the 4 people. Yes. At Andy Young TV is the Twitter handle, although my own station screwed that up today, so that was
No, did they really?
Yeah, it is what it is.
Gotta love that.
Mistakes happen. So and you can search for me on Facebook, too. I'm Andy Young. Look for me there. You'll find me. I didn't have a beard in my picture, though, so people might not know. They don't recognize me.
Or a Buffalo
Braves
yes,
hat.
Exactly.
Yes.
Love
Bring
that.
the NBA back to Buffalo. Buy a team, Terry. Come on.
Hey.
Oh, now you're talking.
Hey, Terry, that's the way to go. We'll see. We'll see.
Interesting.
Sell the Sabres. Bring in an NBA team.
Hey.
Right. Sell the thing that he cares most about.
I agree. He can keep Penn State. Guess we're okay. Use that money on NBA team. I'm a basketball guy. Let's rock it.
Are you saying that he is financially backing the Penn State program?
He
beyond just...
I don't know. I think there's definitely some validity that he paid a lot of money on that arena.
Down there yet?
Sorry, what?
Did they put a statue of him down there?
Seriously, they need to, though.
Oh, no.
You're going to drop that kind of coin on a rink. I mean, dude, that rink is probably nicer than KeyBank Center.
It might be nicer than Harbor Center, too, that they just built.
It's insane. It's insane. Andy Young, we appreciate the time, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, boys. Anytime.
All right, our thanks to Andy. Coming around the bump here, I have no idea what we're talking about. And this is, again, bad producing on our part. But in my defense, it's not going to sound like this, but this is the first segment we're recording. So we haven't even produced the rest of the show.
Hey, mystery can be beautiful.
It's a mystery as to what's next. What a great tease. You're going to have to stay tuned because no one knows. TBD next.
Internet's on headsets. My co-host think I stink. That's just a little parody of.
I missed the first part of that.
Internet's. I'm just trying to relay it to our show. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe this.
All right.
So internets and headsets. These aren't headsets. These are
that's headphones.
Like headphones.
It's a set of.
But headsets usually have like the mic.
The mic already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
So that is a parody of Cocoa Butter Kisses by Chance the Rapper.
Close to the
logo. A reference to the Emmys last night because he was in the, I don't know what they call it, the cold open or whatever they do.
The open? Just the open?
Just the open.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, so he was all up in that with Step Hen Colbert.
Step Hen. I missed the Emmys last night, by the way.
I love the Emmys.
I did not watch a lick of the Emmys. I got sucked into that Sunday night game, which was horrific. I should have just flipped over. It was bad. It wasn't horrific. I shouldn't say that, but it wasn't. I
thought there was a lot of scoring, wasn't there?
There was, but the Falcons are legit, man. They are. I think the Falcons are really good this year.
Yeah.
They lost Vic Beasley last night to a hamstring, so you hope he comes back because he's a fun player to watch. Undersized, but fun.
To a hamstring injury. Okay.
What did I just say?
The hamstring didn't walk out of the crowd and beat him up.
It's coach speak. It's coach speak. I'm sorry.
We talked about this in TBD PGP like 2. Where I don't like.
We did.
Like,
go back and find
it. He wasn't attacked via hamstring.
Archived episodes on tobedeterminedshow.com.
Yeah.
We'll reset it. We'll reset it for you. TBD Show. You can find it on the Twitter at TBD_show. On Instagram, To Be Determined Show. Facebook.com/ToBeDeterminedPod. Because they call podcasts pod. I don't know if you're up with that.
Nope.
At Tribes Matt.
I also wasn't listening.
All right, good. tbdmailman@gmail.com to email the show. You can check everything out on tobedeterminedshow.com. All right, B-side story, Syracuse football. We'll dive into this. The Orange crush Central Michigan. They've won 2 games, people. I was wrong. They've doubled the output of what I thought they would get. I still don't see this team winning more than 4 games, though, if I'm honest.
I mean, it wasn't to your liking. I don't know if it's to your liking. I mean, I think you want to see success.
I would like to see Syracuse win.
To your prediction, early on, a little shaky.
Yeah.
So it's 10-10. I leave the station I was working this day to go shoot some games out in the Rochester area.
Yeah.
And I saw that it ended up getting to 17-10, then something like 24 unanswered to win the game.
Yeah.
Woo!
Dungy looked okay throwing the ball. Once again, he was the leading rusher, mainly due to that 74-yard run. Dante Strickland gets 15 touches on the ground, 65 all-purpose yards, 2 TDs, which is good to see. But that 65 all-purpose yards is the concerning part. They got to find ways to get him going.
Yeah, 2 TDs, but that would be okay if he didn't have the track record for the other couple games this season of doldrums in terms of yardage. Because you're like, it happened again in terms of yardage, buddy.
Yeah. The real B-side story of this whole thing is that Steve Ishmael, with 139 yards, is now the 5th most prolific wide receiver in Division I football, with 389 yards through 3 games.
And look at this. 2 years in a row.
Which, I must commend you, Trabs Matt. You suggested checking the top 5. I didn't think he'd be anywhere near the top 5. You were spot on with this call.
It's because last year Ahmed Atawa was royalty in terms of national yardage at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
Like, we got to check it. He's gone triple digits for all 3 games now.
Is that Dino's system, you think?
Where you're going to have a lot of volume?
Where you're going to have one guy be maybe have the number one, quote-unquote, be just head and shoulders above the rest of the guys? I don't know, because Ishmael was a good piece last year.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much away from him.
But he was not the clear number 1.
But, I mean, Ahmed Atawa really quickly turned into the top option.
Out of nowhere, by the way.
So, obviously, he draws the top cornerback.
Sure.
And Ishmael wasn't blowing up as much last year. So
I can't
I'm
remember
not sure
if Ishmael was hurt or not last year, too.
I feel like I remember him,
Irv Phillips?
Irv. Just shortened to Irv. I love it.
All right.
And
Irv.
Ahmed Atawa.
Listen, it's a good win. You need that. You're going to get smoked by LSU. They don't have a prayer. LSU got beat
Plus,
by Mississippi State.
yeah, Nick Fitzgerald and Mississippi State angered them.
Yes.
They're angry.
Listen, this is they could probably put up 80 on Syracuse. They might be able to put up 80.
And Darius Geis, he did pretty well on the ground, but didn't have any touchdowns. I think that'll change
This
this
is going to
week.
be ugly. Ugly next week. Simply ugly.
So you mentioned how one of my predictions was not bad in terms of checking the receiving
That's
list
just good
overall.
instincts. That's just good instincts, kid.
I thought I was going to go for my second straight week. So in terms of the Middle Tennessee, no. Was it Middle Tennessee? Yeah, the Middle Tennessee State game. Richie James went off after I talked about him on the show.
Yeah.
I thought Shane Morris, he had 2 touchdowns, but threw a pick 6.
Yeah.
The Michigan transfer.
Technically, he had 3 then.
I thought he was going to lead his team to victory, like Richie James the week before.
All right, let's go to buy the numbers. The number this week is $4.8 billion. Pretty big one. As in the number of dollars the Dallas Cowboys are worth, according to a recent Forbes.com article, makes Jerry's Boys the most valuable sports franchise on planet Earth. Patriots are the second most valuable franchise in all of sports at 3.7. Yanks also valued at 3.7. Man U came in at a cool $3.69 million.
Nice.
So, Travis, we got to find a way to purchase a team of some kind because apparently that's a good investment.
I don't think it's going to happen.
We're a few billion behind, if I'm honest.
There's not a way that's going to happen.
No. We're going to need a lot more downloads, so just spread the word. I'll tell you
like
what.
a lot more?
We could be like the Green Bay Packers where it's just
Crowdsource?
it's like crowdsourcing, like TBD fans and listeners could all own a piece of whatever team we get in on.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it has to be an NFL team, and we could just buy...
Draw something up.
We can figure it out. We can just buy a lower minor league team is all I'm saying.
But getting back to it,
Okay.
and wait, we're going to get this team.
Okay.
Don't let my despondentness.
We need a lot of downloads, though, people. Like a lot of downloads.
So the cliche thing is Dallas Cowboys, America's team.
Yeah.
And this just shows it that it really does not matter how they perform. Granted,
Apparently they're the world team.
Zeke and Dak have them kind of back in good graces, but it's not like they've won a Super Bowl anytime recently.
No.
And they're number 1. So really America's team just does not sway. That concept does not sway. And this shows. I mean, this money talks. That's what the stat
I would love to
talks.
know in terms of... I get obviously the dollars are very different some 20 years ago. But 20 years ago, I'd love to see the value in terms of the overall sporting world, where the Patriots were 20 years ago.
Oh, there's no way
before Brady
they're
and
even
Belichick
close.
got there. I mean, just think about that. You win, and I get that it's a historic amount of championships. I'm not trying to take that away, but you get a nice run of some championships here. All of a sudden, your franchise goes way up in terms of dollars. Can you imagine? Let's just say, for instance, the Sabres, and I get that NHL team's not going to be worth billions anytime soon. God forbid they should win 4 cups over the next 12 years. That's a lot, and I get they don't have any. I get that. But they win 4 cups out of 12. And Terry Pagula paid $187 million for that team, I believe it was. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 180 something or other. Can you imagine what that franchise is all of a sudden worth? That might double or triple in value.
I would say the Patriots are the anomaly of the group, where this era of Belichick, Brady and company, and all the success they've had over the past few handfuls of seasons, that has gotten them, I assume they were not in the top 5 before. Now they're all the way up to 2, but you have the America's team concept where the Yankees, I mean, they're very good this season, kind of like the Cowboys recently, just infused with youth.
Yeah.
But,
Yep.
I mean, the Yankees and Cowboys, I'm not sure.
Staples, right?
Yeah, it's staples as
Okay.
opposed to recent production.
Yep.
And then you look at the 2
Yep.
soccer teams in the list. Manchester United, they're not this every year winning the EPL or BPL, whatever they call it every year.
Yeah.
And then Real Madrid's better than Barca, and Barca's number 5.
Yeah, interesting.
So you really have America's team or the equivalent in other parts of the world as opposed to production, I would say, more often.
All right, so the number this week, $4.8 billion. Not that I'm begging for downloads in that segment either, just to clarify.
That was like half of it, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
All right, Twitter takes. KD, or a member of his social media staff, responding to someone on Twitter using KD's official Twitter account, even though it looks like he was trying to respond as a third-party account. I have third part, but it's really just party.
Hey.
Add the Y.
Lucky
well,
you're pretty.
because the KD account responded to the tweet, and the tweet was, @KDTray5. Man, I respect the hell out of you, but give me, one legitimate reason for leaving OKC rather than getting a championship. The KD account, which we assume was... Well, actually, we don't even know. I'm not even going to bother to assume because we don't know. Tweeted, quote, he didn't like the organization. Again, this is from the KD account. He didn't like the organization or playing for Billy Donovan. His roster wasn't that good. It was just him and Russ. Then the KD account added, whether it was KD or someone else, added, imagine taking Russ off that team. See how bad they were. KD can't win a championship with those cats. End quote.
I think he's out here ghostwriting. I said it. I said it off the top.
You did.
I think it's him because if this is KD, I think he thought he was on a different account because he's saying he as opposed to I. He's saying KD as opposed to I. And I don't think he's instilling in a social media staffer of his. I don't know if it's a full staff or just one dude running the Twitter account when he can all the time. I don't think he's instilling in him, hey, do something like this where you're using my name in that sense.
Yeah.
And coming to my aid, because I would think he doesn't really care about that. But I just love Reddit gets a hold of it. They find out his personal Instagram account.
They went far with this.
And you had them find what, was it Quire? Oh, so Quire, Quire Sultan.
Yeah.
And that's the fact that he grew up near Sultan Street and Quire Street.
There are two streets right next to each other in the part of Maryland
or
he
avenues.
Grew up. Whatever it is. Right in the part of Maryland where he grew up. And there's this ghost, this phantom Twitter or this phantom Instagram account that his brother has tagged KD as.
That's the brother's fault.
I mean, that's insane.
And even though that's Instagram and this is a Twitter thing, I think it shows that this was him messing up about what account he was on because on Quire Sultan, he is responding to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, the internet's a dangerous place, my man. It's a fun place to be at times, but that's a dangerous place.
We're in the Reddit age.
First of all,
they're going to get you.
Why do you even care what people are saying about you on the internet? That's really what this all boils down to. What do you care? Why? First of all, why are you responding to it in a possible second account? Or why are you having a staffer on either the Warriors or part of your marketing team or agency responding to people about this? Who cares? You got paid. You got your championship. Who cares?
Neither party.
If you're him.
Yeah, neither party
you should be. You
saying.
should have no cares in the world other than getting back and trying to get another championship. This is insane, man. Can you imagine Magic Johnson responding to this?
They didn't have Twitter.
I'm just saying.
No, just relative. I
can't imagine that.
I think he was too confident.
I can't imagine Larry Bird or Magic Johnson.
Well, Larry Bird would. I just think he would just scoff at anything.
That's what I'm saying, though. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
But Magic Johnson's probably too confident where he's just going to look way past.
I can't imagine Bill Russell doing this. You know what I'm saying?
I want to see him try it right now.
It's amazing.
I want to see Bill Russell try Twitter right now.
God. KD, have some smooth, or whoever the heck's working for you. All right, bump music again. Around the corner, we welcome in the Syracuse Sinach, a gentleman about town, one Frank Mucci, to discuss what you should wear out and about to the bars, wherever, if you want to be a little fancier. You want to dress up with more than just jeans and a T-shirt. I like to do it from time to time. Where do we go? How much cologne do you wear? What do you do with socks? Ton of questions. We're going to throw them all Frank's way. We're going to debate a little bit. That's next on TBD.
We're back here on To Be Determined. Let our voice vessels voyage through your ear canals. We're back.
That was the creepiest way of putting that.
The voice on the other end there, he's jumping the gun. This man is jumping the gun on us.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
I couldn't let that slide.
It needed to be addressed. You're right.
Oh, goodness. At Sports by Bob with that Travs Matt. The show at TBD_show. We're joined by a man that has no Twitter. Barely lives online because he lives in reality. Like the rest of us really should.
Yeah,
that's probably the best way to put it.
It's a very good point.
That's accurate.
Matt has dubbed him the Syracuse Sinach.
Sinach?
As we have Syracuse Sinatra. Syracuse Sinatra.
Oh, okay.
As we have put not on this piece of paper, it's somewhere on another. It's on another page of the rundown.
Oh yeah, where is it?
One Frank Mucci of just a man about town.
Yeah.
Gentlemanly.
I go about town and I do things.
That's true. Gentlemanly-ish, right? Is that that was the
gentleman-ish?
Gentleman-ish. Sorry, gentleman-ish. That's kind of the segment. As we discuss gentlemanly things is, I guess, the most appropriate way to put it. So, Frank, how are you tonight, one?
Tired. Very tired. Very, very, very tired.
Would you like to explain why?
I was at a wedding yesterday.
Okay. So, a topic we breached on or touched
Yes.
on in your breach.
Yes.
That's not the right phrase. Touched on in your first appearance. So
I looked fantastic.
okay, good. Will you give us the rundown of what you're wearing?
I was unfortunately it was a lot warmer than I expected it to be.
Yeah,
so
it's been
I was
hot.
very sweaty. But I had
So you wore sweat to the wedding then?
I did. I had a nice underlayer of just total and utter moisture.
Okay, all right.
It was just a mess.
All right.
I had like a brown tweed sport coat, gray slacks.
Brown and gray. Look at you.
Yeah.
That's different.
How's that? That's not different. That's normal.
I've never seen that.
What, Steve? You gotta go other places in the gym.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Frank, you got me there. I'll be honest with you. You got me there. All right, so let's dive into it. This week, Frank, we want to discuss. You're not going to a wedding. We're going out to the bar.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to
Right.
wear jeans and a T-shirt, but we want to wear something a little more sophisticated, not quite a suit, though. What are the options for guys? What should we be looking for?
Okay, I mean, think about where you want to go and who you're going with.
Good point.
The other night when we all met up, I knew Matt was probably going to do something, so I threw on a sport coat.
Right.
If not, if you're going to like a night, depending on how nice the bar is, just a dress shirt and some nice jeans is always acceptable. You can get away with that pretty much anywhere.
Okay. What if you
And
didn't want to wear
blazer.
jeans? What other pant options can we look towards?
Colored pants. No. This is
It makes no sense. I'm trying to process that. It makes no sense.
It was a failed joke.
Okay.
No, one thing that drives me up and down a wall is that for some reason everybody thinks that just they buy pants and they buy one pair of black pants and that's it. Don't buy black pants.
Okay. What
You
colors
don't
then?
need black pants. You're not a waiter.
I've got a blue pair, a couple of khaki, and almost like a gray. It's a bluish gray.
Yes.
Along those lines, then that's what
Those
I'm
should
getting
all
at,
be
I guess.
done.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
All right, we're going to go north. Is it ever appropriate to sport a hat out to the bars?
We talking like Hot Topic fedora and neckbeard here? Where are we going with this?
No, I mean not like a ball cap, but a nicer hat. A nicer hat.
A nicer hat, like a cap.
Like a driver's cap, maybe?
Maybe.
Ooh,
Maybe.
yeah.
Or
I got
if
a couple of those.
What,
Looks
what,
nice.
what about a fedora?
All right, if you're gonna go fedora, don't be like creepy about it. Don't wear fingerless gloves
Okay.
because a lot of guys who wear fedoras love fingerless gloves.
Okay.
And they say a lot of miladies. It's very creepy. No one. That's not a good look for anybody.
Okay.
I agree.
Are you against hats then out and about at the
I
bar?
am not.
Okay.
But I do own hats, and I do have a couple fedoras. But for me, it's usually cold weather because for some reason we all just gave up on hats, even though it just makes everything better in winter.
That's true. Good point.
And when you get inside, though, take it the fuck off.
Okay. All right.
Just take it off.
Okay. All
It
right.
does not need to be on, or else you're gonna look like, what was that really creepy guy? Mystery? Remember him?
The
pickup
the
artist
something
or
artist.
whatever?
Yes, the pickup artist.
Yeah. Oh,
His was fuzzy. It was a fuzzy top.
Yeah.
Oh.
He should have been shot.
Do you remember this, Steve?
No.
You never saw that?
VH1, MTV, the pickup artist.
Oh, they found literally
no,
the
yes,
worst
I do
person on
remember
the
this guy,
planet
yes.
and gave them a television show.
Yeah. And it wasn't me, ironically enough.
No, you're not that bad.
No, come on. You don't go by
I
mystery.
remember this guy. No, yes, I do remember this guy.
Mystery.
The entire thing was creepy. What he wore was creepy. How he acted was creepy. Everything about him was
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah, a lot of peacocking.
Yeah. All right,
Yes.
Frank. Is it ever okay to go shoes and no socks? I think Matt and I disagree on this a little bit. If I'm going to
All
wear...
right, I want to hear everybody's opinions.
All right, so if I wear pants and I'm going to wear
Yeah.
like boat shoes or nicer shoes, dress shoes sometimes, I always wear socks.
Okay.
I always wear socks. Now, if you're going to go shorts and boat shoes, that's a no sock situation for me. I don't think it's ever acceptable to be without socks when you have pants on. That's kind of my argument.
And my thing was, I usually am too lazy to put on socks if I'm wearing boat shoes. But I don't have any problem against people that go the other way. So that was my feeling.
Depends on which way you go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's July and you're at a beach or a cookout or something, and you just throw on some espadrilles or like a boat shoe or a loafer or something like that, yeah, absolutely, you can go sockless.
That I would be okay with. But listen, I've seen guys now rock almost like a suit and dress shoes.
Roll up the pant legs.
Where the pant legs are maybe a little shorter for whatever reason. They've been cut
Yeah,
a little short and no sock.
Yeah,
I don't get that.
Yeah, it's a weird affected look. They're trying to blend like being super casual and yet dressed at the same time, and it's very weird to me.
I don't like it. So where do you fall on that, Frank?
Look, if we're like, hey, if we went to the beach a couple of weeks ago, I'd have on linen pants, espadrilles, and no socks.
Okay, all right.
But if you're going into, awful Al's and it's, October 3rd, put on some socks, you big creep.
Okay. Well, that's a bar in downtown Syracuse, just for reference.
It is.
So that's all right.
All right. Bars, inevitably crowded. Accidents happen. Little spillage. Let's say dress to the nines, like I know you are plenty of times. Get something spilled on you. Is there anything you can do in a pinch to clean that up or hide it without leaving the bar?
You could ask the bartender for some, oh God, what's it called?
Is it tonic? Is that what you're supposed to use for that? Or no?
I think soda water.
Soda water. Okay.
Either soda water or tonic.
One of the two.
Yeah.
Might be the same thing.
Or mix it with gin and just call it a night.
Okay.
Just squeeze it out into your cup, whatever got spilled.
That's what I would be doing anyway.
Good God.
I love it.
It's good when we ask Frank a question ahead of time because we try to prep our guests. Mm-hmm. And he says he's okay with the question, then he forgets it.
Hey, I like
it's
that
all right,
answer.
though. It's all right.
I approve of that answer.
It's been a very long day.
It's all right. I get it. All right, Frank. Something I think Matt and I agree on. Maybe you'll disagree with the next one. Are shorts ever acceptable?
Are shorts ever acceptable?
Yes, are shorts.
Are we still in the conversation about going out at night and going to a bar?
Yeah, if you're dressing up nicer.
No, they are absolutely not.
Okay.
Never.
Oh.
You are a grown man. You should not be wearing short pants after dark.
Well, some would argue about the grown part, but I am a man, I guess.
Couple man boys here.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you didn't have like the chance to go change and you were out all day doing stuff, yeah, fine.
Then it's okay.
No, you shouldn't leave your house to go to a bar in short pants.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
It's not bad.
I like to call them short pants.
I know. just emphasize.
It's funnier that way.
All right. Where do you fall in the battle of a body spray or a cologne?
I didn't know that was a battle.
Well, you know, I think some guys like to spray the Axe, not a sponsor, body spray.
R.I.P.
And
Tag.
avoid, or Tag. You avoid maybe a little bit of cologne. To me, you strike me as a cologne guy, Frank. Yeah. I don't even think you own body spray.
I have not.
Okay.
No, look, it's doing the same thing. Why are you going with the worst version of something?
That's an interesting way to think of it.
Yeah.
I mean, most of those body sprays smell pretty terrible, and everybody overdoes it because they just crank the thing on and go nuts.
Right.
And you just a little bit goes a long way, especially with a lot of fragrances. Sit down, find a couple you like, do a little bit, and then nobody should be like standing 5 feet away from you and be like, "Oh, you smell good." That's bad. You've put entirely too much stuff on your body.
That brings
moderation.
That brings up the follow-up question. Then how do you know when it's too much? How do you know you've gone too far with anything, body spray or cologne?
Well, I don't know. When you get a new one and you put it on, you're like, "Ooh, hey." It takes a second, but the real danger is actually when you've been wearing the same fragrance every day for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Then, because you're completely desensitized to it.
Okay.
So just to smell it now, you're really going, ooh.
So how do you tell then, Frank? What do you do to tell?
Well, if everybody starts assuming that you're a used car dealer,
you
put entirely too much cologne on. However,
it takes a little bit of experimentation, then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, look, depending on the potency of the fragrance, some are much stronger than others. Depending on its potency, just generally a hit to each side of the neck, like a light spray, should do you.
Okay, all right. Frank, can we get you a Twitter at some point? Are you opposed to being on Twitter? I'm just curious.
Semi.
Okay.
I'm semi-opposed.
What does that mean?
I'm partially opposed to Twitter.
But you're willing to try it.
I might.
If we got you the handle, do you know what a handle is, Frank?
Yeah, it's, like this.
Frank pointing to the handle of a trash can.
I love it.
Oh, like
not quite
like,
that.
No, like
the
your
name.
Yeah, like I know what about.
Okay.
I've seen Smokey and the Bandit.
All right. If we got you the
I
handle,
have a commercial driver's license, Steve.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. If we got you the handle,
You know my CB name is?
no.
I didn't know.
You want to try and guess?
Now I want to know. No, God, I don't even know where to begin, Frank. But now I want to know. Now I'm genuinely curious.
I don't have one. I was hoping you'd come up with something. No, I always wanted something cool.
You ruined that for me, Frank. I really thought you had something cool.
No, like Little Whiskey or something.
Okay.
I like that. Oh.
Yeah, Little Whiskey.
Little whiskey.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
the Shine Runner.
The Shine Runner.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
Run Shine.
If we got you the handle Syracuse Sinatra or Sinach, would you tweet from that account?
No.
We have to make it
stupid. Really more of a Dean Martin kind of guy anyway.
Oh God. Well,
Cyrodiine? Nope, that's
no,
terrible. That's awful.
That's not good. That's not good.
Sardine. Oh,
Yeah, it's bad. I should feel bad
it sounds
too.
like a lady who makes cookbooks.
All right, Frank.
Sardine.
Good God, we got to
Sarah Lee and Paula Dean.
Yes, we got to get out of this segment. We have now gone too far. One Frank Mucci, a gentleman about town. Frank, we appreciate the time.
Hey, no problem, guys.
All right, time for It's Got Legs, a story that will continue to make headlines throughout the weeks moving forward, maybe even possibly months and years. Depends on what the story is, really. This week, Redskins placing rookie Sua Cravens on the NFL's reserve/left squad list. Sua Cravens, obviously, the 22-year-old rookie that contemplated retiring before really his NFL career even started, and now he's decided to walk away.
I think this is the youngest case of this because you've had obviously a lot of guys before the age of 30 recently have this happen. And A.J. Tarpley from the Bills, granted he wasn't the biggest name player, he was 23.
He dressed, though.
So Cravens,
He made the 53.
even younger.
Yeah.
And that's not a good sign if you're the NFL.
Yeah, it was crazy if you were AJ Tarpley. It's even crazier if you're Cravens. That's not even. That's just
Cravey? Is it Cravey?
Yeah, it's bad. Not good. Not good. This story appears to be all about the concern over mental health.
Absolutely.
So, should the NFL be proactive with something like this at the risk of not losing more stars in their league? And I get that Tarpley and Cravens aren't necessarily stars of the league, but that's kind of what you're risking with these guys.
Is it getting worse and
walking
worse?
away, retiring, or whatever it might be?
I mean, yes, these are young guys in terms of the ones I've been named here in a second because they're doing this before they're 30 years old. But you have a couple maybe Hall of Famers in Calvin Johnson and Patrick Willis that have been part of this movement recently. And then you have Chris Borland in that same linebacking core for the 49ers.
Yeah.
He did the same thing. And speaking of the left squad list, you have John Urschel, who's known kind of maybe more so for his brain, which is obviously something that comes along with CTE, which is the whole problem here, than he is for actual football.
Yeah.
So he's on a left squad list there for Baltimore. But the list of these names, it's bigger and bigger. BJ Raji, we don't have him in the discount double check commercials anymore, dancing around because he left the Packers. You have Jake Locker, he left the Titans. You have all of these names. Gerard Mayo left the Patriots. You have all these massive names over the past 3 seasons that are leaving their teams at pretty young ages because of CTE. I mean, you had Ballers this past week, and yes, a lot of people make fun of Ballers, but it has NFL licensing.
Yep.
It's a part of the NFL world,
and they're
doing something on it.
Yeah, they openly discuss concussions there, which the NFL has just been like, ooh,
you won't have logos next season.
Yeah, 2 fingers in the ear, eyes closed, and humming away, saying, we don't even know what this is. So,
I hope you like having instead of Miami Dolphins next season, the Big City Ramblers or something. Take your licensing away.
The CFL, will CFL do it? I don't know. Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think they have to be proactive. They have to do something here because eventually one of these major college stars is just going to go, you know what? It's not worth...
It's not going to join the NFL to begin with.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
That appears to be the path.
Oh, boy.
I'm not saying it's a certain or it will happen, but it appears to be the path that we're headed on.
You already had McCaffrey and Fournette because they wanted to get drafted and not playing their bowl games.
Yeah.
Is this
we're
the
already
next step?
being... Yeah, exactly. All right, our thanks to Andy Young of Spectrum News in Buffalo for joining us talking Little Bills. Our thanks to Frank Mucci, just a gentleman about town, for discussing all these gentlemanly things. Make sure you check out the website, tobedeterminedshow.com. Download, subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Play. Leave us a review, rate us on iTunes or any Apple product. Make sure you check out the Friday show every Friday, post-game press conference every Wednesday. Social media links are on the website, so check out the website. I did take months to design that thing, mainly because I'm slow at designing websites. Trabs, Matt, my thanks to you. Our thanks to the senior producer, Mitch Beluka. Our many thanks to the executive producer at Sports by Mom. Anything else?
Thank you, girls.
Later, boys.
Hey, boys. Oh, yeah.